Hey man, what you got there? Oh, this is just a retro handheld. I got it, but it's complicated to set up. I still haven't figured out how to get games working. Ah, well, I can help with that. Want to see the easiest way to do emulation? Oh, okay. Yeah, what's the easiest way? Just don't do it. Dude, this is so freaking easy, right? Hey there, how's it going? I'm TechDweeb, welcome. Thanks for clicking on the video today. I'm a big fan of these handheld emulation doodads. As you might have noticed, these things are kinda magical. They can play all your old favorite games, Nintendo, Super Nintendo, Sega Genesis, TurboGrafx-16, arcade games, PlayStation, all those games that you loved as a kid running on a lovely little handheld jam-packed with delicious retro vibes. Something you can buy, turn on, and just play some video games. And only one thing I just said there was a lie. The part about just playing your games. That's true for some handhelds. Most of the Linux doodads come pre-configured and ready to rock, but these days a lot of the fancy doodads are Android based, and Android handhelds are definitely not the kind of thing you just turn on and start playing. You got to install emulators, configure settings, set up controllers, import ROMs and BIOS files, download the artwork, tweak more settings, follow guides, sacrifice a goat under a full moon. That last one is optional, but it might help, so it's worth a shot. The point is, you can easily spend an entire day setting up one of these things before you play a single game. Now, sure, emulation YouTube uber nerds like me can very often get everything running pretty quickly. It usually takes me about an hour to fully set one up, but I do this for a living. Somehow. I don't know how it works exactly. The point is, for most people, getting Android emulation set up is not effortless. Far from it. It's full of effort. My comments section has proven that time and time again. You just bought a shiny new toy and instead of playing games, you're sitting through a YouTube tutorial while some dork flaps his hands while he explains emulator cores. You don't want to learn about emulator cores. You just want to play ToeJam and Earl. Surely that shouldn't be this hard, right? Well, that's basically the entire reason Lemuroid exists. Lemuroid was built around a pretty radical idea. What if emulation software wasn't hard? I know, crazy idea, right? Under the hood, Lemuroid uses libretro, the same technology that powers RetroArch. So it's not some stripped down weird baby emulator. It's using many of the same emulator cores and much of the same technology. The difference is that Lemuroid tries very, very hard to just stay out of your way. You point it at your ROM folder and it literally does everything else. It scans your games, organizes everything into its own built-in front end, downloads the box art, chooses the emulator cores automatically, and generally just handles the boring stuff for you. Which, surprisingly, makes it kind of unique because most emulators are built by emulation enthusiasts for emulation enthusiasts. Lemuroid feels like it was built for regular people who just want to play video games. It supports a huge pile of systems too. NES, Super Nintendo, Sega Genesis, Game Boy, Game Boy Advance, PlayStation, PSP, Nintendo DS, Nintendo 3DS, Atari stuff, and a bunch more. This works on basically any Android device. Retro handhelds, Android boxes, phones. If you have a controller, it'll work with that. And if not, you'll get touchscreen controls. And you still get just enough of the modern conveniences to be convenient. Save states, fast forward, cloud saves, filters, upscaling, local multiplayer, all the good stuff, just with a lot less futzing about. It's like RetroArch for people who don't want to spend their weekend learning RetroArch. It doesn't expose every possible setting. It doesn't try to be the most powerful emulator ever made. It doesn't want to become your new hobby. It just wants to help you play some video games. Because sometimes the best feature isn't adding more options. Sometimes the best feature is just letting you play frickin' ToeJam and Earl already. Today, I'm going to show you Lemuroid because this is one of my favorite Android emulators to suggest for newbies. And for some reason, I still haven't made a video about it. So we're fixing that today. This is that video. Not because Lemuroid is the most powerful, not because it's the most customizable, but because it just gets out of the way and lets you play video games. Crazy, right? Also, I wanted to mention that I'm showing you Lemuroid on this, my RG476H. This is my current main retro handheld. If you're interested in picking one up for yourself or learning more about it, I'll have a link to my video review about it in the thingy below. I'll give you the grand tour of Lemuroid in a bit, but first I want to show you how to install it and get it set up, because this is so ridiculously easy that it's going to literally blow your mind. Whatever that means. First things first, you need to install Lemuroid, obviously. You can grab it from the Play Store if you want, but if you didn't want, then you can download it directly from the GitHub page instead. Run the installer to install it. Once you've got it installed, open it up and then it'll ask you where your ROMs are stored, which means that you're gonna need to have some ROMs. Now, Lemuroid doesn't make a ROMs folder, so you're probably just gonna need to make one yourself if you don't have one yet. I usually just create a folder called ROMs and then make subfolders inside it for each system. Lemuroid gives you suggestions for the ROM folder names right in the info blurb, but it'll detect stuff on its own even if you have slightly different names. Or if you're already using a microSD card loaded up with ROMs, you can just point Lemuroid to that instead. When you select your ROM folder, depending on how many games you have, the scanning process can take a while. In my case, I have a completely normal and healthy collection consisting of roughly 900 million games. For me, it took like, 30 minutes or whatever for everything to be detected and imported. But if you've got a more reasonable collection, it'll take less time. Maybe only a few minutes if you just got a handful of games. Once the scan is finished, your games will be neatly organized by system, complete with the game box art downloaded automatically for you on the fly. If you've got BIOS files, Lemuroid can use them. Just dump all your BIOS files right in the ROMs folder and Lemuroid will detect them and use them. Some systems may run a little bit more accurately that way, but if you don't care about BIOS files, that's fine. Lemuroid uses high-level emulation by default, which means that BIOS files are optional, so you can skip all that nerd stuff. And that's pretty much it. Seriously, at this point, you're done. That's the entire freaking setup. So let's take a little tour and see what we're dealing with here. Right away, you're going to be on the Home tab, which is where you're going to see your last played games, your favorites, and also a Discover section, which I'm pretty sure is just a random smattering of games. Heading over to the Systems tab, and you're going to see your systems. All the games Lemuroid has detected will be sorted into their proper console category. If you open a system, you'll see your list of games, and it'll be downloading the game box art on the fly. You can actually launch a game at this point, and it'll work. Your game will just work. All that hard work we put in with the setup is paid off. And by hard work, I mean easy work. I don't know why I called it hard. It wasn't hard. I'll cover in-game stuff in a bit, but first, let's check out the main app options. Just click this little gear icon up here and you'll get there. There's no individual system options. This stuff here affects all the games across the entire app. In here, you can change your ROM directory and rescan it for new games. Under General, you can enable autosave and auto-load, which is on by default. I love this option, and I like that it's on by default here. Immersive mode will give the empty areas of your screen a bit of the color of the game screen itself. I actually like this on widescreen devices like my phone. HD mode is just an upscaling filter that I do not personally like, but maybe you will. Display filter is like shaders, but this is very basic. You get 5 options. Auto, which is just one of the other 4, but automatically chosen per system by Lemuroid. Usually it does CRT for the consoles and LCD for the handhelds. Sharp, which I think is an interpolation filter like Pixelate, which gives you nice crispy pixels. Smooth is a bilinear filter, kind of a soft image. CRT just adds scan lines and LCD just adds an LCD grid. Really, you can probably just leave this on auto and be fine, but you do you. For input, this is where you can bind controls. The controls of your handheld or any controller that you have connected will be automatically detected and configured. I've never needed to bind anything because it all worked right away by default, but you can rebind stuff in here if you need to. And under miscellaneous, you get some advanced stuff that you probably won't need to mess with, like BIOS files and some more advanced control and emulation options in the advanced section that, you probably don't even need to look in here. But it's here if you need it. One thing that's a bit weird, on Lemuroid on my phone, I get the option to enable cloud saves where I can add a Google Drive folder for storing my save games. And I think that's a pretty neat option. However, on my RG476H, I don't have that option. Eventually, I learned that the GitHub version does not have the cloud saves in it. So if you want the cloud save stuff, you're going to need to use the Google Play Store version. Let's go back to a game, but real quick, I want to show you this. If you long tap on a game, you'll get this option screen. And this is where you can start fresh if you don't want your auto load, add to favorites of course, but I like that this pin to launcher option is here. So this is like if you have a game on the go, you can pin it and it'll be added as a shortcut to your Android home screen. So you can just launch the game without needing to go into Lemuroid. I wouldn't do this for like all your games or anything, but it might be useful if you have a few games that you want home screen shortcuts for. Okay, so in the game, you can press L3 and R3 to bring up the in-game menu. If your doodad does not have L3 or R3, you can rebind that shortcut in the options. Your game menu has all the usual stuff that you'd want to do. Save your game manually and load any of your saves. You can reset the game. You can enable fast forward, which is good for blasting through slow parts. Edit controls will only work if you're on a touchscreen device. So here you can see on my phone, I get some simple options to change the size and position of the on-screen controls. You can also enable tilt sensor, so you can set this up to like, I don't know, make your character move or something. I'm not really sure what kind of use case this would actually be for, but hey, it's here if you want it. Some systems have more advanced options, like for example, in PSP, you get the ability to enable frame skip, change the resolution, and enable texture upscaling. Just a few simple options that give you a bunch of useful tools without the 1,000,001 other options that are just a bunch of confusing stuff that you probably don't even care about. If you load up a Nintendo DS game, you're going to see there's very few options. Basically, you can just change the screen orientation from vertical to horizontal. Touchscreen works though. There's actually an experimental 3DS emulator built in, however, it's legitimately experimental. It doesn't work great. Maybe it will someday, but as it is right now, I wouldn't suggest using this for 3DS stuff. Actually, on that topic, it probably goes without saying, but you don't get high-end emulators on here either. No Dreamcast, no GameCube, or PS2, or Switch. Lemuroid is just for the classic retro stuff. Everything up to PS1 and Nintendo 64 and Nintendo DS. If you want more advanced stuff, then you're gonna need to dip into setting up other emulators yourself. Luckily, I have a guide for that too. Linked below. And that's it. That's the whole tour. That's literally everything you can do. There's not much you can customize, but I mean, if you're here to play games, then you're going to have a great time. Frustration free. Now, I should probably admit something. I am not actually the target audience for Lemuroid. I make Android emulation guides for fun, which is a sentence that should probably disqualify me from commenting on what normal people want. I like tinkering. I like messing with settings. I like comparing shaders. I like testing different emulator versions. I like when something doesn't work and I get to figure out why. Most of the time I get a new handheld, I spend more time setting it up and tinkering than actually playing games on it. For me, one of the best parts about Android emulation is that it's so flexible. You can install whatever emulators you want, whatever front end you want. You can customize everything. You can spend 6 hours making your game collection 0.1% more organized. And that's not even a joke. People actually do that. People like me. Lemuroid throws most of that stuff out the window. Its simplicity is a double-edged sword. There aren't a lot of settings, there's not a lot of system-specific tweaks. If you don't like the handful of options you get, that's kind of your problem. And there's definitely features I miss. I wish it had proper hotkeys for quick save and quick load and fast forward. I wish there was more settings to customize each system individually. I wish it supported some higher-end systems too. No GameCube, no PS2, no Dreamcast, no Switch. It's bare bones as heck. And we all know how bare bones heck is. But here's the thing. All of those limitations exist because Lemuroid is trying to solve a completely different problem. The biggest problem with Android emulation is that getting started kinda sucks. Every dang day I see comments from people who bought a handheld and immediately got overwhelmed. They're confused about emulators, confused about BIOS files, confused about front ends, confused about why there are 6 different ways to do the same thing, and all the dorks on Reddit are yelling at each other about which one is best. They followed a guide and it still doesn't work and they can't figure out why. Lemuroid attacks that problem better than almost any emulator that I've ever used. Instead of giving you 50 choices, it makes a few sensible choices for you. Instead of asking you to become an emulation expert, it assumes you'd rather spend your time playing Toe Jam and Earl. And honestly, I appreciate that. I love that I have this to suggest to people. I love having it for me for those times where I'm feeling super duper ultra lazy, because at the end of the day, the emulator isn't the point. The point is playing some dang video games. Like, come on now. And with that, we're done. That's the end of the video. I hope you found this helpful or useful or at least entertaining. Please let me know. What do you think of Lemuroid? Does it look good? Helpful? Too basic? Any other emulation apps or front ends or whatever that you'd like to see me cover in videos like this? Let me know in the comments. Also, click the subscribe button and the thumbs up button and the like button, which is the same button, I guess, and the notification button and whatever other buttons make the YouTube thing happen. I'm TechDweeb. Thanks for watching. Bye-bye.